What's up, guys? Welcome to round two. Like I mentioned in the title, it was an exciting game. We castled different sides, and so I would say both players had attacking chances. Very evenly matched opponent. You can see 2168 and I'm 2164, so he's 4 points higher than me. My FIDE is actually higher than his, but USCF his was higher, so pretty evenly matched. I was black, and yeah, let's get into it. So here we go. And let me just do one thing. Sorry, I'm moved my setup around, so I'm just getting used to where everything is. Okay, so e4, the way that you can't really play King's Indian against e4 because you can't play knight f6 right away, or you're into the Alekines. But what you can do is play d6, then knight f6, and go into the Pierce. And so that's what I did. It's not quite the same because there's no pawn on c4, so it's a little bit different, but you know, kind of similar setup. Queen d2, so he's just immediately going for the battery here. A lot of times castling long is what they're going to do, and then try to kind of attack you over here. And one of the things that's interesting about this compared to the King's Indian is white actually is ahead a move, kind of, because they haven't spent a move putting this pawn on c4. And so you have to be extra careful because their development happens faster. Now, you know, the course that I just made recently is about the King's Indian, not the Pierce. Most of the theory is on the King's Indian, which is when this pawn is on c4. We are in the Pierce, so I know very little. I mean, I know the basics, and I kind of knew the ideas, but even at this point, I was kind of out of theory. Like, I didn't know the specific moves here. And this is kind of a good learning opportunity. Like, sometimes when you're learning an opening, just because you don't remember the exact lines doesn't mean you can't take the ideas that you learned when you were learning that opening and then use those to kind of help you navigate the game. And so that's kind of what I was doing here, all right? Like, I didn't remember specifically what I should play, but I knew the general idea. Okay, the general idea is I need to be careful for an attack over here. And I think delaying castling is usually a smart thing. At least that's my understanding, right? So that's what I decided to do, just develop. I wanted to see what he was going to do. So f3, kind of pretty standard, sets up to play g4, h4, h5, and kind of supports e4. So I played c6. This is kind of it's like a useful move most of the time, regardless of what else I'm going to do. If I'm going to castle kingside, this is pretty useful move anyway. Lets my queen out, you know, controls the squares that the knight would like to go to. But also, if I'm going to attack on the queen side, it sets up to play b5. So I'm like, okay, c6 seems like a good move. I'm not showing my hand, right, by not castling right away. So he does castle. So I was happy with that because now at least I know, okay, you know, let's try to do something over here. Let's attack. There are different ways to do that. And I decided to just go ahead and play queen a5 and then immediately kind of get ready to push this pawn. And it puts pressure on the a2 pawn, right? So he plays bishop h6. This is pretty common, and I did take it. Now, another option would have been to castle, but then the problem is after like takes, I mean, he doesn't even have to take it, but let's just say he does. Now my king is over here. The attack is coming. I liked this option of just capturing because now I'm just kind of like, I feel like I'm a little safer actually in the center here. It's not that easy for him to open it up. And, you know, I'm most worried about this. And so I'd rather just kind of wait and not castle there right now. And the other thing, white's queen is kind of misplaced here. So I was thinking that's pretty good. If it ever goes to g7, I played b5, by the way, but if it ever goes to g7, I don't care. I'm going to play rook g8. Everything is defended. It just has to go back. It's a completely wasted move. So I wasn't really worried about that. And yeah, so I played b5. Let's see, king b1. So basically he's setting up, you know, after I play b4, he doesn't want to lose this pawn. So that makes sense. b4, knight goes back. Let me check my notes. There was a moment here. Okay, it's the next move. So I played knight b6. And then he played knight c1. So at this point in the game, I thought for 6 minutes, which isn't that long, but that's a decent amount of time to think, you know, this early in the game. And I was really trying to understand what I should do next because, you know, at this point, it's not that easy for me to press on with the attack, right? Like knight b3 is probably coming. My queen, it's kind of in a good place, but it's also kind of in the way because I'd like to play a5, a4, and I can't. And I don't really know where to move it. I also was like, what do I do with this bishop? Do I go here? Do I go here? I was really confused, to be honest. Like I wasn't sure what to do. So I'm actually, yeah, computer actually does like bishop e6, and that, like, I was almost gonna play that. And let's see, why didn't I play bishop e6? I think I was afraid of like knight e2, which the engine does say is a good move, and then coming to f4, and I wasn't sure like what was going to happen to that bishop. And I didn't really see like a way to proceed. It's saying bishop c4, knight g3 is what I was thinking, and just trading everything off. Yeah, engine says that was fine. I didn't know that at the time, so I decided to go with knight a4. Basically, what I was doing is setting up for some potential tactics in the future. Right now, I don't really have enough pieces, but I was thinking later on, maybe one of my rooks comes here, maybe my bishop gets involved, and then I can think about sacrificing or potentially going here and doing some kind of mating opportunity. So that was what I was trying to do. All right, so knight a4, knight b3, queen b6. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I wanted to create a place for my queen to go back to. So like queen b6, just to, because if I don't do that, if knight b3 happens, I think I have to go to a4, and it just seemed like a really awkward square. So I thought b6 made more sense, so had to get the knight out of the way. Okay, so queen b6, he plays g4, and let's see, I continued with my attack, a5. I wasn't really worried about this move, because if this happens, I can just play knight h5, and look at this queen. I actually was going to be really happy if this happened. This queen is not doing anything for a while now. It's just stuck over there. So I wasn't concerned about that. That's why I just kind of continued. And I was thinking about potentially sacking here, playing like a4, b3, maybe a3, just to kind of open things up on the king. But I wanted to see what he did first. So he did bring the queen back to defend, but this opened up a tactical opportunity for me. Now, the engine doesn't like my idea, but I'll give you guys a second if you want to pause. What do you think I played here? And if you had a chance to pause, I played knight c3 check. And what I'm trying to do, first of all, it's a fork if he doesn't take it. So he pretty much has to take it or he loses the exchange, okay? And then I'm going to take back with tempo on the queen. And then I'm going to play a4. And the knight can't move. It's pinned. And basically, I'm getting my piece back. I did lose a pawn in that exchange, but now I have some open files that I can work with and attack the king easier. At least in my mind, that's what I was thinking. Now, one thing... and I don't know why I do this sometimes, but this is like a big problem that I need to kind of figure out. When I was calculating this, and he played, what did he play? G5, yeah, G5. I was calculating, I take, and for some reason, I just had it in my head that he was going to take with the queen and try to trade queens, and then like try to tuck the king over here or something. And that's like the only move that I was calculating. Like I wasn't really even thinking about these two pawn captures. I don't know why, because those are actually more logical when I stop and think about it. But in my head, I'm like, okay, queen takes b3. My knight's hanging. The queens are being potentially traded, which I didn't want to do, but I saw that I could play queen a7. And if he takes my knight, I have rook to b8. And I'm winning the queen. So this is good for me. So that's kind of what I was just planning that was going to happen. And then he just takes with the pawn. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a move, isn't it? Both of these are moves, you know? So I don't know why I do that sometimes. Like I just assume that like, oh, it's going to be queen takes, and I need to really work on that, because this could be really bad. You know, you're analyzing something, you just don't even consider certain moves. I have to fix that. So anyway, that was kind of surprising. So I played knight back. I had to obviously save the knight. D5. So this is a little bit tricky. There's an attack here. There's an attack here. This attack I don't really care about. I'm not worried about that pawn. I am obviously worried about this. It's a rook. And so I decided to castle, save the rook, get my king. I think my king's pretty safe actually now. You know, yes, it's a little bit scary with the queen on this diagonal, but the dark squared bishop's gone, so I don't have to worry about that. And it's going to take 1, 2, 3 moves or 3 moves, you know, for white to get some pressure here. And I'm going to start attacking over here. So I felt like, okay, I feel pretty good about this. So he does play h4. Oh, and by the way, you know, if something like queen takes c6, I was going to probably think for a while here. I had lots of moves going through my head, but like something like queen f2, I thought maybe queen e3, bringing the queen in. Engine is saying queen a7 is the best move. Probably wouldn't have played that. Maybe. I mean, actually, queen a7, now that I look at it, you know, just creating the attack, then we can develop the bishop next and bring this rook over. I wasn't worried about this. It just felt like it was too slow, and, you know, I was going to get some nice pressure going. So same thing here. I can hop my knight. Both of these squares look pretty nice, and I'm going to get a lot of activity. So I wasn't concerned about that, and he didn't obviously think it was a good idea either. So h4. All right, now at this moment, obviously he is trying to, you know, do the plan that I showed you earlier, push this pawn and either push here to threaten checkmate, or capture here, which is probably the better option. If he pushes here, I can always just block off the diagonal and I don't really have to worry about that. But capturing here does open up the rook and it gets a little bit scary. So I knew that this was coming and I knew that I had to do something to attack. And I decided to play knight c5, just basically bringing another piece closer to the action and also letting this bishop out. And this was my key idea. I wanted to take here. And then if this happened, I'm going to have, oh, let me just show you. I wanted, okay, it's white's turn. So he played here and I did take. And my idea was that if he takes here, I've got bishop f5 and this looks really nasty. The king is in big trouble. I've got a rook, I've got a queen, I've got the knight. Tactically, yeah, it's just completely winning. White can't survive. So that was one idea. And then the other idea was after rook takes d5. My idea was going to be something like bishop e6, really just lining up all the pieces on the king. Engine doesn't like that move a ton, but it's not, yeah, it's not bad. It likes bishop a6 better for some reason. But I felt like this was really good. Get this rook either to c8 to b8. It looked like I was going to have a lot of pressure. So that was my plan. He actually threw in this capture first, and then he did take with the rook. And I still was thinking about bishop e6, but I found a different move here, which turns out Stockfish agrees with me. It was the best move. So if you want to pause and think through, what do you think I played here? What's the best move for black? All right, if you had a chance to do that, the move is knight takes e4. And so it's a little tactic making use of the fact that the bishop is undefended. So if white tries to capture the knight, my rook's going to come in and now white's in big, big trouble. There's this rook, there's this rook. My queen can come in. Yeah, the bishop can come as well. It's just not good. So that's the idea. But he found a nice move and played queen to c4. And I did see this. I was expecting this. The point is basically attacking the knight with the queen so that you don't have to, you move the pawn. It also defends the bishop. And more importantly, discover check on my king. So after this rook moves, anywhere the rook moves, I'm going to be in check from the queen. So I have to be really careful here. There are a lot of pitfalls to avoid. So I was thinking about bishop e6. I was thinking about bishop a6. I thought briefly about the crazy looking move rook a4. And the point here is that if the queen takes it, I've got this fork winning it back. It doesn't work because, why doesn't it work? Let me think. Rook takes d6 check. Really crazy move. Puts me in check, so I have to take the queen. But then he's taking my queen. And so all I did was trade queens, lost a pawn in the process, and now it's just like an even endgame according to the engine. So that's why that didn't work. Almost a really cool move to, defend my knight, attack the queen, sacrifice a rook, but didn't quite work. So what I played, and this is what I had kind of planned to play, was e6, just blocking off that discovered check and at the same time attacking the rook. Now there's an interesting line: queen takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check, forking my king and rook. What do I do to not lose my rook? So this is a good tactic for you. If you want to pause and try to think through that, I kind of got you started down what you need to figure out. But go ahead and take a minute. What's the move there? All right, if you're ready to see the solution, that's actually what happened in the game. He did take, I did take, he took check. And the way that I save the rook is by playing just the simple king g7. And the point is that if he takes it, notice this discovered attack. Now I can play bishop f5 check, unleashes the rook, and he's losing the queen. Okay, so that was the idea there. I actually thought about this Mitro Fanov's deflection move, bishop e6, to save my rook, but it's really just not good because I end up getting into trouble. But I did consider it for a brief moment. Unfortunately, just didn't work here. But anyway, king g7 was played. He played bishop d3, and I think, let me check my notes here. Yes, this was the moment in the game. So I had 44 minutes on the clock at this point, and I'm doing fine on time. We both had about 40-something minutes, and I ended up spending, 24 minutes thinking here. And it was because I started to realize that there's all sorts of crazy traps and tricks and things to be aware of. So, for example, I was going to play a move like rook a5 to just kind of attack the queen. It seemed like a good move, because I didn't want to lose my rook. So I thought, okay, rook a5. And then I'm thinking like, okay, he might play queen e4. And then I could play like bishop f5, trying to trade this off. And I noticed this move, queen e7 check. And I'm like, wait a second, what do I do here? I can't move back or I'm checkmated. So I have to block. And now do you guys see what he's going to play? You want to pause? Here's another opportunity. Yeah, the move is rook takes h7 check. Have to take it. And then there's just perpetual check back and forth. So I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. All right, got to be careful here. And then the other thing, what was the other thing I was considering? If I do something to like stop that, like let's just say I play a random move like, I don't know, rook f7. I wasn't sure what was happening with bishop c4. But no, bishop c4 doesn't work. What was the move? Oh, queen h4. Yeah, queen h4. And I'm like, okay, this looks really scary. Like I have to be real careful here with what I'm doing. I wanted to like play h5 to kind of shut it down, but then there's en passant. And this just looked super scary, this passed pawn. I mean, yeah, I'm still up the exchange, but I'm like, I don't know. I didn't like that. So I realized that even though I had won the exchange, like this position was not simple. And so I was thinking, couldn't find like a good move. And Engine is saying, oh, Engine is saying rook a5 was the best move. Wow, I didn't see that. Queen e4, what am I supposed to do here? Queen a7 is the move. So you control that diagonal, you take away this as an option. And I guess on queen h4, you just bring your king back? Is that what the idea? King g8. Wow, and then on bishop c4, you have d5. Okay. So that was apparently the winning idea that would have made it easier for myself, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that queen a7 idea. Rook a5, then queen a7. Huh. Anyway, I thought. I looked at all sorts of different ideas, like queen e6, like bishop f5, like bishop f5, and then rook here, sacrificing a bishop, all kinds of things. Decided to play bishop a6, just because I couldn't find anything better. I figured that I needed to trade this bishop because like there's just so many lines where the rook gets sacked and the queen and bishop are really strong. Turns out bishop e4 is a good move for him because now there's like potentially an attack on the rook once the queen moves, and he's keeping the bishop, putting pressure here. So I have to like watch out for tactics. So rook c8, I wanted to get out of that diagonal. Engine doesn't like that. Apparently I needed to play rook to e8, which we'll see why in just a second. He played here. Yeah, and that's why I needed to play there to stop that, because this was a really strong move. Now I'm like, I was really struggling to survive here because, like, for example, what did I want to play here? I wanted to play something like, let's see, like bring my queen in, for example. Like, I don't know, queen e6, e3 to go in here. And then look at this. Rook takes h7, takes, checkmate. Ouch. So that's kind of the like major threat, and it's not easy to stop that. So if you guys want to pause and I've told you what the threat is. Rook takes h7, king takes, queen takes, and then checkmate. How do I stop that? What's the best move for black here? And according to the engine, there's only one best move. All right, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is queen to c7. And the point is that you need some defense along this 7th rank. So for example, takes, check. And now when you go back, it's not checkmate because you've got the queen defending. Now it's not over yet because you can still go check, king here. And then there's this move, bishop d5 check. And I was like sort of scared from this, but apparently it's okay for me because after g6, I actually have mate over here. I was afraid in the game of queen g6 and then like trading and maybe a perpetual or something, but it looks like I'm still fine. Yeah, engine is saying takes. Yeah, in my brain, I calculated this and thought I was going to be losing because he had so many pawns. I think I was calculating like with a bishop still on the board or something, and I was thinking like, okay, I had the exchange, but no, I actually have a rook, so I was fine. But very scary moment. He didn't actually play that. Okay, so I did play queen c7. I found that, but I spent quite a bit of time. So I'm down to like 14 minutes, and I still have to make 10 moves. So we're getting closer to like time trouble-ish territory. So knight h3, and then I'm just checking the time. Okay, so yeah, I still have 10 minutes here. If you want to pause, it's another nice tactical opportunity I had here. I did find this one. Black to play and play a cool move. And if you're ready to see the solution, the move is rook takes f3. So basically what's going on here is this bishop can't leave this diagonal, because if it does, he's just mated. So check, king over, check, and then checkmate, right? So that's the idea. And that's why I'm able to get away with just taking this pawn. And it's actually a nice move because it kind of stops the knight from going anywhere, or I can just take the knight. So I was proud of that move. And then he played queen here. And I was like, okay, that doesn't seem too scary. But I realized the threat is queen to d4 check. And that actually is scary. Because, for example, what's a move that I considered? I considered playing rook takes h3 because he can't take me, or he gets checkmated in one move right here. So I thought, okay, I'll just take the knight with my rook, and this guy can't take me. The problem, going back to this queen d4 check move, look at this. Where's my king gonna go? If I go here, bishop d5 check, and I'm actually just losing now. King here, yeah, I'm getting mated. There's mate in 5. And I didn't calculate it all, but I could tell that it was going to be really bad. So that queen d4 is a really powerful move. So I was like, okay, I have to stop this somehow. And I had 10 minutes here. I thought for 6 minutes before I finally found the move. You want to pause? Again, here's another moment. What's the move for black here? Yes, the move is queen to c3. And basically, I have to just get my queen on that diagonal. Like, that's the only way to really stop queen d4. So yeah, queen c3 was the move. And also, let's see, if he takes this, I still have this move, right? So I'm winning there. So that's not a problem. And I don't remember what else I was going to say. Anyway, he played knight f4. I had like 4 minutes, but I didn't see anything, so I took it. Then he played here. I didn't see anything, so I took it. He put me in check. I went here. This was how I was going to escape. If I go here, then the queen's coming over here. But this way I can just eventually get out of the checks. And now white has no more good checks. He resigned. I had like 2 minutes on the clock, but I only needed to make four more moves. And it's increment, 30-second increment. So that's not a problem, you know, when you're up so much material. But very close game. That was fun. I mean, I felt like it was fun. Like, he had attacking chances. I had attacking chances, you know, opposite side castling. Lots of cool tactics. Thankfully, I was able to spot most of them. I missed a couple things here and there. But yeah, overall, I think, you know, I played pretty well. Fun game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to go get ready for the next round. I got a couple hours, so I'm going to probably go work out, get some food, try to take a nap if I have time, and yeah, get ready for the next round. So see you soon.